Hello viewers, in this video I'm presenting a game prototype I designed called Mino Garden Case in English. It's a general audience family type deduction game for 1 to 5 players and a total duration of less than 10 minutes per player. The 3 major game modes are available. Standard competitive mode is the one presented here, but cooperative and solo games are also possible. In the game, players are investigators who must chase a villain secretly moving around town while collecting information about him. Here's the town map with 9 neighbourhoods of equal size. A game is a sequence of 8 times of day, each of them covering a full game turn. Each time will start with an event, the first one being the desperate phone call of a downtown shopkeeper reporting a stolen sponge and witnessing the villain running for the local station. The next events are determined by cards dealt face down during setup and revealed one by one as the game unfolds. Each time of day will then also generate a move for the villain through cards placed under the board along the timeline, most of them hidden to the players as the villain is trying to move discreetly. The initial move is the one shown for 8 o'clock AM, namely a location card face up and a villain move card face down. This means that when the game starts, the villain was known to be in the middle of the yellow neighbourhood where the restaurant is, and that he's already taken one step, but that step is hidden. He's therefore somewhere around the station, but we don't know where exactly. He'll then keep moving as time passes, following a route progressively generated by the game, with more and more cards placed under the board. Let's look at one villain card as an example. Here is a step on foot to the north. He may walk in all directions or not move at all, and he'll occasionally take the bus as well, which makes the chase a little more interesting. In a competitive game, each player controls 2 investigator tokens, the detective and an associate. To win, a player must apprehend the villain at the end of the day, in other words have one of the 2 investigators in the same neighbourhood as the villain at 10 o'clock at night. Otherwise the game is lost. Among the players who have apprehended the villain at the end, the winner is the one who collected the most information about him in the course of the day's investigation. Whether of the detective or the associate, an investigator turn goes as follows. First, a move, chosen among the 4 available means of transportation. You can decide not to move as well. Then an action, or you can also choose not to do anything. The options for the move are shown here, some of them coming with a charge, in general greater as the distance travelled is larger. And by the way, here's how money works. Players start with 15 moustache euros and cannot earn money, so they have to use it wisely over the whole game. As for the action after the move, 3 of them exist. The first option for an investigator is to watch the neighbourhood he's in. It is the action that allows to collect information about the villain, provided he's in that neighbourhood at the time. To watch a neighbourhood, you simply place a token of the current time of day on the investigation log in the row of the watched neighbourhood. It is only at the end of the game, though, when the villain's day is reenacted and his secret moves revealed, that watch actions are checked for points, verifying who watched the right neighbourhoods at the right times. Besides, innocent people placed randomly at setup can be found downtown. The second possible action for an investigator, when on the same square as one of them, is to bribe them to hire them as an informer. On your turn, you do this by paying 2 moustache euros and by taking the token and placing it in front of you. This marks that you have one more informer hiding in town and who will now call you each time they spot the villain during the day. And you can have several informers working for you. When an informer calls, the call is always the same. Hello mate, I saw your villain. Do you care for information? The called player has then to decide, either to answer yes and reward the informer with 1 moustache euro. Then the player gets to look at one of the secret villain cards under the board and return it face down. This is usually valuable information to narrow the uncertainty on the villain's position. Or to answer no, not to spend money, and to give up on the information. The informer then gives up on the player and returns to town as a regular citizen. Now, when do informers see the villain and call their players? This is actually determined by the event cards, most of them showing the informer call symbol, this one here, and usually also a condition for the call. The condition almost always refers to distinctive marks that players must know to receive the phone calls. And the only way to get to know these distinctive marks is to use the third and last possible action, namely to interrogate locations for witnesses. There's 1 marked location or shop per neighbourhood. When you interrogate a location, you log it. It becomes impossible for you to interrogate the same place again, and draw a distinctive mark card from the top of the deck. If the drawn symbol is new to you, you keep it face up in front of you to indicate that you now know that distinctive mark. If, on the contrary, you have a card with that symbol already, you have not learnt anything new and must slip the card back under the deck it was drawn from. So in short, distinctive mark cards increase your chances of receiving phone calls in the rest of the game, and the number of informers you have bribed is the number of calls you receive when you are called. And being called means that you must choose to reward or lose your informer for each token you have. Now the overall game sequence is as follows. For each time of day, beginning with the player with the first player token, a first round of investigator turns takes place, in which only the detectives are played. Then, a second round in reverse order takes place, in which the associates are played. When the first player, who is also the last of this turn, has finished, he reveals the next event on the timeline, develops the card specified at the bottom, and passes the first player marker to the next player around the table. This is when the informer calls are resolved, if any, before proceeding to the new rounds as before, only shifted by one seat. Once the 10 PM turn is over, it is time for a reenactment of the villain's day. The first player marker becomes a time marker, and the villain token is used to follow the villain's moves. The day starts at 8, and here the villain began at the central station of the neighbourhood with the restaurant, and moved one step to the east. Players check who watched that neighbourhood at 8 o'clock. Those players collect their tokens as score points. The time marker is bumped to the following time of day, and so on, players accumulating their score as their logged surveillances are checked. And it's only at the very end that players can check who actually apprehended the villain and is actually granted their score. This can really keep players in suspense until the last moment and makes even counting the scores fun. A few details were not presented in this video, like certain locations might close in the day, or that in the last turn players plan their moves simultaneously because night does not allow to see other investigators as easily. But most of the competitive game mode was covered, hopefully giving you a clear idea of it. Thank you for watching.